The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power in the creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. Boy, I'm just feeling the joy right now. When I look upon my show sheet and see all of the fun shenanigans we're going to be getting into over the next hour, I can't help but be pretty happy about it. We got some great topics to talk about. We have a fantastic guest this week. We got a great co-host. It's going to be a blast. Let me tell you about our guest. All right, coming up in the second segment, this one is a good one, folks. We're going to be joined by Ava Della Pietra, an award-winning singer-songwriter and Broadway performer. This kid, I can say kid, right? Just 20 years old. They're all kids to me at this point. This person is, by every objective metric, an absolute star. Has performed on Broadway in the original Broadway cast of School of Rock, was on the national tour of Les Miserables. So, great credits there. Is a terrific award-winning indie singer-songwriter who has won more awards than I can count. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I looked at her Wikipedia page and went to the section where it talked about the amount of awards that Ava Della Pietra's won. I had to hit the page down button on my keyboard 7 times to get to the end of the list of awards that this 20-year-old has won. And to top it all off, when she's not conquering stage and when she's not conquering the indie charts as a recording artist, she is also a college student at a couple colleges you might have heard of, Harvard and Berkeley, that she's attending at the same time. Both schools that, if you know, they're pretty hard to get into individually, and she's attending them both simultaneously. So the point being, this is a person that we want to talk to because her story is incredible. She's going to have some great advice for you, and I just want to hear about what makes her tick. It's going to be a blast. So stick around for that. That's going to be awesome. In the meantime, also thrilled to be chatting with our co-host this week. Let's have her accompany us on this journey. Always a pleasure to be joined by Katie Zaccardi. Hi, Katie.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello. Sometimes the stars align, Katie.
Indeed.
And we get a guest that just works so perfectly with the co-host. Every time you're on, I feel like we have a Les Miserables reference that comes up at some point. And we're always talking about theater and, Broadway stuff. And now we have Ava Della Pietra joining us in the second segment where we get to indulge all of that. And the timing is also perfect because I believe you have recently had a bit of a musical theater achievement can you share this with us?
Yes, Ava may have been on Broadway, but I am doing a local community theater production of Legally Blonde. So it's basically the same.
It's the same. Just
literally the same.
Just stick around for the second segment, everybody, where a couple musical theater veterans of equal standing will just be sort of trading stories.
Completely equal standing.
Yeah,
about it.
You'll be talking as colleagues. It's like having Julie Andrews and Bernadette Peters just in the same podcast. Standing on equal platforms talking about their Broadway conquest. Look, don't feel bad, Katie. You don't think I feel like a failure when I read off this woman's resume as well? When I was 20 years old, I had applied and very much did not get into Harvard. And my musical theater credits was a high school production of The Fantastics.
Work though. Yeah. It's super funny too because I'm so excited to talk to her. I have been in quite a whirlwind auditioning and then starting rehearsals for this because I haven't done theater since high school, in 13 years. And for whatever reason, after I didn't do it in college, because when I was in college, I was really focused on my own indie artist career. And so I just like didn't end up doing any shows. It just didn't really work out like that. And NYU being such a big school, like if you like, it was easy to not cross paths with those things. And I just like didn't really cross paths with any theater stuff. So I kind of was just like, oh, well, I guess I'm never going to do another show in my whole life, which is very weird. I don't know why I like suddenly just like gave up. But in my head, as a very high achiever, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be on Broadway, so there's like no point. Which is again stupid. Anyway, though, upon my 30th birthday, which is what started our regular and recurring conversations about Les Mis, I truly was like, I'm getting too old. I'm never going to be able to play Eponine. Oh my God, if I don't get back into theater now, it's over for me. So I like, and I will also say this, actually, this is not new. Like for about 4 years since I moved to Nashville, I have been scouting for productions of anything here in Nashville, but a lot of the theaters in Nashville, they do like very weird and obscure shows. And I want to do Ligue Les Blancs or at Les Mis. So long story short, a friend told me when I was boasting about my Les Mis birthday party that didn't end up happening, she was like, oh, I'm doing West Side Story at this place and they're doing Legally Blonde in a few months. You should audition. And here we are. So it's been very humbling to like dance after 13 years, but it's been very fun. And yeah, I'm like coming out of retirement and I'm in my theater
The
era.
return to the stage. That's very, very exciting. And I'm sure our guest is going to have lots of insight for you. I mean, my God, Broadway credits, original Broadway cast, national tours. I mean, even though she has certainly not occupied her time on this planet as long as we have, she's going to have lots of wisdom to share. And I'm sure she will not mind you picking her brain on these things. So that's going to be... But in addition, like now she's, really focused on the music side. She's got a new single coming out, I believe tomorrow as we record this, called 3 a.m.
Woo-hoo!
The like 8-second clips that I've heard from on like TikTok sound pretty awesome. I can't wait to hear the whole thing. She just seems like a star. It's going to be great. And so we'll stick around for that, everybody. It's going to be a blast. We will try our best to not just hound her with a bunch of Les Mis questions, but no promises. In the meantime, I got a couple interesting topics here. One of them, just a quick thing that I saw as I was flipping through channels. I rarely get to check on how things are going in the network television world, Katie, since most of my TV viewing habits, like most people these days, are streaming services. I don't really get to watch a lot of network TV or even just TV commercials unless I'm watching like a sporting event and the commercial comes on. But I happen to catch a commercial for the ABC network television show The Rookie, which is one of these procedural cop shows with Nathan Fillion, who's a delight. Mm-hmm. But I don't know much about the show except it's a cop show. Like there are so many of. They are, network television's festooned with cop shows. But what I thought was interesting is that I believe the next episode of The Rookie is going to have a crossover with a video product that I am actually quite familiar with, which is the indie streaming service Dropout. Dropout, a very, very popular indie streaming service that's going out these days. Old heads like me remember the old College Humor website, which was a really funny like internet sketch comedy website. A lot of those College Humor people have now moved into the over-the-top streaming world, created a network called Dropout, run by Sam Reich, but also has Zach Oyama, Brennan Lee Mulligan, a lot of really funny, amazing improv actors. And they created this whole streaming service network that has improv game shows like Make Some Noise and Game Changer. They have Dungeons and Dragons themed shows like Dimension 20. They got a bunch of programs on there. They're all really fun, great performers, really funny, really progressive. And this platform has gotten really popular with young people. The Gen Zers, the millennials, they love Dropout. It's become a very popular streaming service such that people are paying $5 a month to take in all the content, and it's become very, very successful. But I thought it was pretty amazing that a network television show, right? You don't get any more legacy media than ABC network television, looked at a streaming service that has no network TV connections, is completely independent, and said, we need to get that. We need to partner with those people, because they have access to an audience that we don't really get access to in network television, because the average age of network TV viewers is dead. And we want to get those people interested in our network TV show. And just the idea of legacy television, 26 episode a year network TV, wanting to partner with an indie streaming service to get that audience, I think is proof of concept of just the rise of independent media. And there's a lot to be happy about there.
Yeah. Wait, so how exactly are they partnering? Can you give more details about that?
Yes. The several members of the Dropout cast are going to be playing themselves in an episode of The Rookie. Like Nathan Fillion, the police officer, is going to investigate some crime that is going to involve those people playing themselves. And it's really funny because they wanted to feature a Dropout TV program called Game Changer, which is one of the most popular programs. And they wanted that to feature into the plot of that episode of The Rookie. Yeah. The problem being that the episode itself wasn't actually in season and filming at the time. And so from what I read in an article, the network actually recreated the entire Game Changer studio on the ABC soundstage.
No way.
Just so that they could have that show featured in the episode. And so, yeah, I don't know, what they're going to do, but the actors are playing themselves and they're going to feature in the plot. And apparently that's something that ABC really wants because they want that audience. They want, the cachet that comes with that. And, I think that's so amazing because 5 years ago, the idea of network TV looking at an over-the-top streaming service that's independent and saying, we want that audience would be unheard of. Like there would be just completely separate universes. But now people are realizing the power of independent media, and even the legacy networks want to get a piece of that.
And dare I say TikTok as well, because right before we started, you said, do you know Dropout? And I was like, I think I do. And then you named the thing and I'm like, oh yeah, I know it. And then I was looking more into it. I'm like, oh yeah, of course I know it. I watch the TikTok clips all the time. Vic's show, I think, is very important. People I actively quote things from that in my day-to-day life. The sketch, if you search Vic, whatever that thing is, and then the Europe bit that they do where the two of them are like, oh, are you from Europe? And she's like, yes, exactly. I just go look it up. It's very funny. But my point is though, it for me, and I'm guessing for a lot of people, TikTok is top of funnel. And then they're bringing it all full circle to network TV. And I bet you it wouldn't be possible without all the growth that they had on our little teeny phones. Yeah. So kind of crazy. Wow. That's awesome for them.
It does sort of show you how the audience is changing, how things are getting kind of stratified in media, right? Because I don't think you're alone. I think there are lots of people who, if you ask them what Dropout is, they don't know. But if you start, quoting things like laws or threats by the dominant socioeconomic group in a given nation, they'll know that exact full monologue that Brendan Lee Mulligan does because they've seen it 1,000 times on TikTok or the Mountport song or Vic's show, right? Because all of these things are very popular in 30-second snippets on TikTok where there are millions of young people who are fans of Dropout and don't even know it. Because they only know it through TikTok. But right, it's a funnel, right? They start on TikTok, they find out what Dropout is, they subscribe to Dropout, and ABC has taken notice. They want that funnel to continue and be spit out all the way back at traditional network television.
And I must admit, I did try to watch an episode of Vic's show with Jeremy Colhane, I think is his name. He's on SNL now. And I saw so many of his clips online that I was like, where do I find this episode? And I couldn't find it on YouTube. And I was so confused. And it's because it's like an actual
Yeah,
network.
you
So
got to pay $5.
I think it's awesome that they're like, because I was just being a dum dum, but I'm also gonna guess that a lot of people like don't know that it's separate and a network that you have to like pay for and everything. So very cool that they're getting more awareness, and I feel like they've been really blowing up lately. So, and they deserve it. They're really
yeah.
funny, and they like, it's the kind of humor that like they get young people. They are young people. Like I shouldn't say young just in age, but just in like the way the humor that exists right now on the internet, like they're very much with it, and that's what people want to see. You know what I mean? So
It's so, I mean, it's exactly the kind of media that like a program like this wants to reward. I am a Dropout subscriber. I very much enjoy their stuff, and it could not happen to more deserving creators to get featured in a platform like this. I would have never expected a network television Dropout crossover, but it's a welcome development. All right, but before we take a break, I do want to answer a listener question. I thought it was a pretty interesting one, so we'll get right into it. The question is, I use AI platforms to help make my music. Can I make money off my music if AI helped create it? Are there any potential issues with selling or licensing my songs on a platform like Suno? So the first thing I want to just, mention from the outset, same disclaimer that the voiceover makes at the beginning of the show. I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. This is not legal advice. Informational and entertainment purposes only. Every situation is unique. Go talk to a lawyer to get information about your specific legal situation. Okay, we're all inoculated here. And I'm glad this has been brought up, Katie, because I do think this is an important issue and it's something that's going to become more and more common. I was reading an article in Billboard, I think, that was talking about how basically a majority of songwriters and producers now are starting to use AI platforms to make at least pieces of their music, but nobody's admitting it, right? It's one of these like worst kept secret sorts of things. Like it's everybody's secret superpower that they don't want to divulge. Now, I don't want to really get into just sort of the ethics of AI and art debate. If you don't want to use it, completely understandable. If you do want to use it and you're fully into it, that's your own choice. It's between you and your God. I'm not, I think wherever you stand on it, I think people are doing it.
yeah.
And they're going to continue to do it and do it more. And so my job is to give you some thoughts on the potential risks of doing it, because there are risks, right? However you're using AI platforms like Suno or Mareka or any of these, whether you are just sort of typing in a text prompt and saying, make me a song based on this text prompt, or you are feeding your own music into the platform and having it spit out some output for you, there are risks in doing that could affect your ability to monetize that music. All right, so first thing you want to know from the outset, right, is just because you are using the platform does not mean that you have the full rights to commercialize that content. If you look at the terms of service of, let's look at like Suno and Mareka, for example, because those are the ones that I've looked at more recently. Both of those platforms say that the only way you get to use the outputs that the platform generate and you actually get to own them and potentially monetize them is if you've purchased like the right tier of account. So it specifically says that if you're using the free version of Suno or you're using the free version of Mareka, anything that platform generates for you, you can't commercialize it, right? It is, you can use it internally, you can play it for your friends, you can make an internet meme out of it and make people laugh or whatever, but you can't sell it, you can't put it on a streaming service, you can't license it because you don't own the rights to do that. It's only if you've purchased like the pro tier or whatever they call like their paid tier of the platform, do you actually own the rights to the output that the album generates. So now you're probably asking, okay, let's say I do purchase the paid tier of the platform. Now can I use this music, to put it on streaming services? Can I license it for a TV commercial or something like that? You still want to be careful. And there's a few reasons why. So a couple things. One, if you look at the terms of service of either a Suno or a Mareka, they both say something very similar, which is yes, if you have the paid version of our account, whatever the platform generates for you, you own it. But you are also granting those platforms the right to do whatever they want with your music too, including commercialize it. And so if you own that music, you have to be very careful about the licensing terms that you use. So one of the things that a lot of licensees want when you do a sync license is they might want an exclusive license to your work that says, okay, if you're licensing this, we want to be the only people who are using this work, like for our TV commercial. If you have generated your music on a Suno or a Mareka, you probably can't grant an exclusive license. Why? Because you've already given a non-exclusive license to that AI platform. So, that's the rule with exclusive is if you've given somebody a non-exclusive right, you can't give somebody else an exclusive right. So that's danger number one. Danger number two is issues with originality. One of the things that you will often agree to when you do a sync licensing deal is you have to specifically guarantee the originality of the work, that whatever you're giving them is not going to infringe upon anybody else's work, is not going to be similar to somebody else's work. But if you look at the terms of service of a Suno or a Mareka, they both specifically say, hey, AI generation is weird. It is very possible that we might generate something for you that's really similar to somebody else. And so I don't think as a music user of that platform, you could guarantee to a TV commercial that the work that you're generating is 100% original, because Suno might spit out something very similar to your work for somebody else, and you could get into trouble there down the road if that music gets licensed. So there's a few kind of like really significant risks that I don't think a lot of artists are considering, and frankly, I don't think the industry is considering yet. But as a lawyer, kind of worries me. And if I'm advising a client, I would say be really careful about using these AI platforms if your plan is to take whatever that platform generates, or even a piece of what that platform generates, and license it in like a sync project.
Yeah, I am by no means a sync expert, but I did help with Chris SD's, who like is a sync, he's very much in the sync world, with his launch back in January. And as a part of that, I ended up sitting in on many or all of the many calls that they did with music supervisors and talked with them a lot, talked with him a lot, like kind of just got the scope from that end. And pretty much everyone was asking about AI. And the biggest feedback that the supervisors had was that they're just really resistant to syncing something with AI elements just because it's so dicey, like for all of the reasons you just stated, and just for like, is it going to come across well? Like, is the emotionality there? Like, oftentimes you can tell when it is AI, especially if there's AI vocals, like you can tell the difference. It almost sounds too perfect, right? But they were just also just from a purely like making a deal kind of thing of like, I got 5 songs in front of me. Which one are we going to choose? They are way less likely to choose an AI song. In fact, it seemed like most of them would not be choosing an AI song. They would go with the real songs, for lack of a better word. Sorry, not to say that the AI songs aren't real songs, but like human songs. So I think that, and this is my opinion, and everyone's of course will vary, but like I completely see why people would use AI like Suno to try to get a feel for arrangements or try to like create a demo or something, especially if you don't have that skill set or the money to like hire a producer to just mess around. But I think at the end of the day, if you are trying to make money from music, you're gonna unfortunately have to invest in still recording your own stuff, getting a real producer involved, and avoiding AI, because that's going to put you in the best position moving forward to actually make all of that money back. And to the last thing I'll say is like, you don't want to be like Taylor Swift, like you don't want to lose your rights to any of your music. And why would you be like giving an AI platform any like piece of the puzzle that would stop you from making more money in the long run? Doesn't make sense.
I'm with you on that. Now, and to be fair to some of the people who are using this platform, right? Like, yes, there are people who, when they use Suno, like when I use it for fun, like I'm just typing a text prompt in, right? But a lot of really, people with actual talent are using this platform in a way where they are uploading their own original work to it and then using AI to help, come up with new arrangements or new ideas or put layer extra instruments on it. There's some pretty cool, like, human machine hybridizing going on that could be like really artistically meritorious, but it does not deflect in any way from the legal reality that they're bringing up here, that once you get the machines involved in your creative product in any way, you create some pretty significant legal risks that could complicate your ability to make money off of that music later. And even more fundamentally than that, you are creating real risks of being able to copyright that music. So one of the other things that the AI platforms that, every AI platform that I read the terms of service for all had some version of the following sentence in here, which is, if you use our platform, we can't guarantee you that whatever gets generated is going to be something that you can copyright. We will give you the rights to your work if you have the right paid account, right? You will own that. But as far as the government's concerned, you might not have anything that's ownable, right? Because it's still an open question about to what extent AI generated art can be something that can have a copyright, right? All we have is we have some federal cases that have been decided recently that have said that if something is 100% AI, it does not qualify for copyright protection. There has to be a human element to the work.
Yeah.
How much of a human element is required? We don't know yet, right? We know 0% human equals no copyright, but if it's a 50-50 collaboration, does that get copyright protection? If you type a text prompt into Suno, is that enough for copyright protection? If you, create a completely finished or 80% finished work and then Suno helps you with a little bit of the rest, does that affect the copyright ability? And the answer is we don't fully know yet.
Yeah.
And so until we get some clear answers there, you are taking a risk that whatever you do on this platform, the end result might not be something that you have full ownership rights over, which could, of course, complicate your ability to make any kind of money off the resulting product.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to this, which you may not be able to answer, or we may not have the answers to. But let's say you are a musician who is, you've got a guitar and vocal demo you made of a song, and you plug it in and you say, hey, give me like a basic arrangement for this. Give me and you do it 3 times and you get like 3 different arrangements. And then you go to a producer and you say, or you yourself produce it and you say, okay, I'm going to take this element that I liked and I kind of like that drum pattern. I'm going to like use that as like inspiration, or just straight up take it, and you're recording it. So you're not like using the AI elements, but you're using what was created by AI as inspiration. What do you think of that? And like, again, I don't know that anything is actually set in stone legally. Like, we don't have concrete answers, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, in terms of the copyrightability of it.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a sound recording, I mean, until we get some more clarity in the law here, I would say if you want to have a sound recording that's, has a high chance of copyrightability, but you want to use AI to sort of give you some initial ideas, you should treat the AI output as just a demo, right? To give you some ideas so you can take something to the producer, as you noted, Katie.
Yeah.
But when it actually comes to creating the final recording, you want that recording to be completely human.
Yeah.
Like, don't use any of the sound that was created by the AI. Start completely fresh, because that will help make the sound recording itself fully original and, prevent potential copyright issues with respect to the final sound recording.
And then taking it a step further, though, like,
come on, I gave you an answer. Now you're going to give me something I definitely don't know?
No.
We're going to keep asking Ryan questions till he doesn't know the answer. We'll make him look stupid.
It's an absurd question, which is like, are we then stealing from AI? Like, if AI, even though AI is like, I guess, probably stealing from everyone else who's ever made music in the world, ? I don't know. We can have
AI is not the most sympathetic figure here.
But like, are we stealing, or like, do you ever think that then there's going to end up being like laws or clarifications where it's like, if you get like if I did that and I had my demo and then I'm like, I'm just going to copy what AI did, but make it my own so that it's like not AI, but like I'm still copying everything AI did. Like, am I stealing from AI?
Well, I mean, if people could demonstrate that like what you've taken from the composition wasn't you at all, but was AI. Yeah. Now you're getting back to originality issues that might affect the copyrightability of stuff. Yeah. It's a dangerous spot that we're in. And, we don't know a lot of these answers. And so just understand, and by the way, I'm speaking to the music industry at large here, because there are so many producers and songwriters right now who are using this stuff who won't admit it.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to all of them, like, be careful. Like, until we get some clarity in the law about what it means to use this stuff, understand that you are sort of playing with fire a little bit, and there could be some negative consequences from that. But certainly in the short term, until we get this clarity, for the people who want to create music that they might want to sync later, I think the terms of service of these platforms is legitimately scary. And I think the point that you brought up, Katie, that a lot of music supervisors are nervous about this, and it will make your music less appetizing for them if they knew that there were any AI fingerprints on it at all. So, think about all of that as you use these platforms in the short term. All right. We're going to take a break and talk to an artist who is 100% fully original and an absolute delight. We're going to be joined by Ava Della Pietra right after the break. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Katie Zaccardi. I'm excited for this one, Katie. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's get right into it. I'm thrilled for this guest. Our guest this week is an acclaimed indie singer-songwriter and Broadway performer whose music has racked up over 27 million global streams while winning several prestigious awards from the Songwriters Guild of America, Songwriter Universe, and multiple film festivals. She performed in the original Broadway cast of School of Rock and the national tour of Les Miserables, and is currently enrolled in the Joint Studies program at Harvard and the Berklee College of Music. Her new single, 3 a.m., drops on March 6th, and you can find out more about her guest's work by visiting avadellapietra.com. We are happy to welcome Ava Della Pietra onto Break the Business. Hello, Ava.
Hi, how are you?
I am so peachy. I'm excited to talk to you. I don't know at what point you wandered into the virtual green room of this broadcast, but we spent the first 5 minutes of this show just throwing the praise around about like there were so many places like we could go to and being like, wow, she's amazing at this, and wow, she's amazing at that. And I mean, I guess you didn't hear a lot of it because your head's not really big right now, but we think everything about you is awesome, and your timing is perfect, Ava, because you being a Broadway musical theater performer, our co-host, the also talented Katie Zaccardi, just got cast in an equally prestigious production of some of the ones that you've been into, which is the local theater production of Legally Blonde that she's gotten into. And, you know,
Oh my.
she's pretty excited about it, and excited to be able to talk to a fellow equal in the musical theater space like you are, Ava. And just,
I am by no
This is
means
so
an equal, but I
exciting.
am excited to talk to you.
Wait, that's incredible. Legally Blonde is an iconic musical. I'm so excited for you.
It is. Yeah, I'm very excited. I used to watch the 2007 MTV Pro Shot as a youth, so I am very excited.
and also, I'm hoping that you two just form this wonderful bond of friendship by the end of this episode, Ava, because we're pretty big Les Mis fans on this program, and we have spoken for a couple episodes about how Katie, for her 30th birthday, attempted to have a Les Mis karaoke sing-along party with all of her friends, who sadly...
a full 3-hour show read through.
That's what it was, a read-through. But they all tragically abandoned her to watch a college football game. And I'm hoping that by the end of this broadcast, you two will have filled such a bond that when Katie endeavors to attempt this again, that you will be willing to join in that party and lend some like national tour Les Mis heft to the guest list.
I would absolutely love to. This is so incredibly theater coded, and I'm all theater kid coded, and I'm so here for it.
Did we have it right that you were little Cosette on tour?
I was. That was way back when I was 7 years old, which is really crazy. I had absolutely no idea what the show was about, but I was there with my broom, and yeah, it was a blast.
That's incredible. Well, I read something about you in terms of your early days in Broadway. And I don't know if this story is true, but if it's not true, I want you to just say it was true because it'll make for better radio. No, I'm just kidding. I read that you were auditioning for the original cast of School of Rock. And to audition for this, you decided to teach yourself the bass a week before the audition so that you could audition for this show. And like you taught yourself the bass like in a week to audition for a Broadway show?
The time frame was short. I will not say that I taught myself. I did seek I got a guitar teacher and also electric bass teacher. So I did learn how to play the electric bass 4 days before my audition for School of Rock, because basically what happened was it was just one of the callbacks. For one of the callbacks, they asked me if I knew how to play bass. I was like, I do not, but this is a really big opportunity, so I can learn. So I learned how to play the iconic teacher's pet on the bass. And by the time I got to the audition room, my fingers were completely blistered. I could barely play anymore. But they all stood up halfway through and they started clapping, very encouraging, and it was so fun.
Oh my gosh.
Ava, little piece of show business advice here from a grizzled veteran. The answer is hell yeah, I know bass.
Yeah.
and then you. But in all
With
seriousness,
the other situation later. Yeah.
No, Ryan,
Ava,
it's more
the bass is
impressive.
really hard.
But don't you think?
How
it's
did
more
you do
impressive
that?
She was like, "No, I don't know how." And then 4 days later, she's like, "Psych!" I feel like that's way more impressive than lying and pulling it off, because they must have been bewildered.
Yeah.
Wait, it was so much fun. And being part of that show was honestly a dream come true and such a unique experience. The kids that I met there were so incredibly talented, and they all played instruments and they were all musical in some way or another. So it was a really great bonding experience.
How old were you when you did that one?
I was 10. So I did that for almost 2 years. So ages 10 to 12.
That's a pretty impressive resume that you accumulated by 12. I mean, as an entertainment lawyer, I've worked with a lot of child performers and and their parents and all that. And I would say without painting with a too broad a brush, I do think that with a lot of child performers, when I see them, I always get a little concerned. I think being a child performer is a very challenging life. I think a lot of people go into that life and don't necessarily come out perfectly adjusted. But when I look at you, you seem to have been immune to all of that because, I mean, as I'm talking to you now, you seem awesome. And everything I've read about you would suggest that you had this terrific childhood that has culminated in being like a college student now and everything. And so how did you were you able to navigate the child performer life in such a way that you have become like the dazzling ray of sunshine that you are now?
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot. I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that I had a lot of support from my family and my friends. I was very, very fortunate in that regard. So even though I was really working very hard on Broadway tours and Broadway basically steady from ages 7 to 12, I had just so many people around me who were advocating for me. And I think that's like extremely, extremely important. And also, I got lucky, I think, with the shows that I was working on, just because like the casting directors and just the directors were also like a really great support system. And I felt just very loved in all the shows that I was a part of. And honestly, like when I was 7, I didn't even realize that this was a paid job, or that I thought that everyone around me were just kind of like very enthusiastic volunteers, because I'm like, this is so much fun. How on earth could this be a job? So I think a lot
Everybody
of it
does this at 7.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a fun little after school activity.
And, that, really awesome childhood experience you've had has culminated in, what you're doing now, which is in addition to your music career that you have, and we'll talk about that in a bit, you are presently enrolled in college. But actually, that's not fully accurate because you're actually presently enrolled in 2 colleges, specifically a joint program between, a couple sort of, relatively unknown schools called Harvard and the Berklee School of Music. Schools that getting into either one of them would be a incredible achievement. And you got into both and are attending both simultaneously. I don't know if you have any cousins, Ava, but I can guarantee you that they hate you because they get so much crap from your aunts and uncles right now, being like, Ava's at Berklee and Harvard. No, I'm sure your cousins think you're the best, but oh my God, like that's incredible. I mean, and to do that while juggling like your career and everything, like, I mean, how do you sort of find the hours in the day to balance all of that?
I think I've been always balancing my academics with my music kind of my entire life. So the only adjustment now is that it's a little bit more of an intense balance. That's because college is obviously busier than like high school and junior high, etc. And also, I think that music is something I just really, really love and I'm very passionate about. So for that reason, it doesn't really feel like, oh, I need to like make time to do my music. It's just something that kind of happens in my life, and I'm constantly songwriting kind of in the form of a diary. And yeah, it just happened naturally. So I guess I make time for it.
I mean, so I assume that, the Berklee program is a music related program. What do you study at Harvard out of curiosity?
At Harvard, I'm doing a joint between human biology, behavior and evolution, and music. And then at Berklee, I'm on something called the songwriting track. So I'm very lucky to have access to Berklee resources, but I'm staying on the Harvard campus and I take a normal course load here. And then at Berklee, I take 1 to 2 classes each semester. And I'm also involved in various extracurriculars. Like the other weekend, I did this really cool project called the 48-Hour Musical Theater Project, where I got together with a couple of Berklee students and we had to write and also put on a musical in under 48 hours, which was truly insane and so much fun.
That does sound really fun. And it's important that you're doing that because I don't think you were busy enough.
It was my weekend activity.
You were just sort of laying around, not getting anything done. Like, I'm glad that you found some extracurriculars to fill out your schedule. So let's talk about those things that you're doing when you're not, doing like 10 academic programs all at the same time, which is a pretty terrific award-winning music career that you're doing DIY as an indie artist, getting very popular, getting lots of streams. Can you give us a little bit of perspective? Like, what does it mean for you to be an indie artist right now, making your music while doing this other stuff?
Right now, I've just been recording so many songs, and I have a song dropping in a couple of hours at midnight, which is very exciting. And I'm like going to LA in a few weeks, and I'm recording a lot of new music that I'm going to be dropping soon, hopefully an EP. And I just kind of write a lot of different styles that I think are inspired by pop music, indie music, and also just kind of whatever like is inspiring me at the moment. And I also think a lot of my pop music is a bit theatrical, especially when it comes to the music videos. I love drama. So it's just taking inspiration from things that happen in my life. And because I'm in this setting of Harvard and Berkeley, I get to meet so many different people, and I get to have so many different experiences, and those new experiences inspire my music.
You kind of stole what I was going to ask next, which was as someone who has I'll for both of us, I'll speak like as someone who has a theater background and then also writes like pop music. What are your influences, first of all? And then how do you like tame them if necessary? Like when you're writing pop music, you're not writing a musical in 48 hours to put on, but like how do you kind of navigate that both from a creative perspective but also from like a focus perspective, right? Like where you're putting your attention, shifting between those energies, and then even like your studies at Harvard, those are all very different things. So how do you manage just like compartmentalizing when you need to versus like letting things flow together?
I think a lot of it just comes down to intuition. I think one of the biggest crossovers between my theater background and now my pop music writing is that I really love pop music that tells a story and has a very set narrative and has some type of resolution at the end. And I also think that there is this trend in pop music that pop music is becoming more theatrical. Like if you look at like Sabrina Carpenter's big performances, or Conan Gray, Olivia Rodrigo, Chappell Roan, like all these artists, I think are very theatrical in their performances and also in terms of their stories. And pop music is kind of gearing again towards this drama that I mentioned before. So I'm very fortunate to live in a time where pop music is going in that direction. I very much take inspiration from those artists that I listed.
And how does your theater training help you with some of the other aspects of having a music career other than the making of music? I would imagine somebody with your background, for example, is more comfortable making TikTok videos or, social media posts and putting yourself out there as just a performer as opposed to a singer-songwriter because you have this other theater training.
It was definitely a really interesting transition to go from theater to pop, especially when it comes to live performances, because in theater, there's this rule about not breaking the fourth wall. So you're supposed to kind of always be in your world, and obviously you could interact with the audience to some extent, but it's very different when I'm performing my original music and I'm literally like making eye contact with the audience members. And it's just a different level of connection, not better or not worse, just different. And I feel like that transition was really fun for me to experiment with. And also just in terms of confidence with performing and getting up on a stage and entertaining, definitely a lot of theater was very helpful for that.
Yeah, Katie, I'm glad she brought up Sabrina Carpenter, because that's really kind of the template right now, right? I mean, she was a Sabrina Carpenter, child actress. And right, when she does performances, like it's like watching a Broadway show.
It is. It's like a show, not a
She's got costumes and like she's acting out the song that she's singing, which is why, of course, she was perfect when she was hosting with the Muppets on that Muppet show, because like she's basically a Muppet and just fit right in with them, like performing man-child like as a stage production. And so like I feel like in a lot of ways, like she's walking so you can run, Ava. Like because 5 years ago, like a singer who performed that way, maybe would not be as well received. Because
let us not forget Lady Gaga, though, who was also doing like full performance art. But you're right, it wasn't as like honed in, whereas Sabrina Carpenter has like a set and everything that's like super fine tuned. Right. But justice for Gaga, because she was
all the pop queens. Yeah.
But even with Lady Gaga, like she's playing a character. You
Hmm.
know, where
True.
she's not like, this isn't like Stephanie Germanotta doing like, over the top acting stuff. It's like,
True.
I am this
True.
character, and so I will accept her, being theatrical in her performances. But like Sabrina Carpenter is like, I'm Sabrina Carpenter.
That's a
Yeah,
really
there
good
are
point,
also
actually. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
there
really
are
good
also
point.
artists like Tate McRae, and you hear about she talks about her like alter ego Tatiana and stuff like that. When she performs, she enters this different headspace. So yeah, I think there's a lot of like character building and the quick changes, all these different things that have integrated their way into pop music, or maybe have always been a part of pop music.
Well, when you are in pop singer mode, is it you up there, or are you playing a character?
It's interesting because I've thought about this, and I think it honestly depends on the song. I have a couple
Mm.
of songs that are a bit more like bad girl vibes, I guess. And I think when I'm performing those live, I definitely enter a different headspace, and I take on this alter ego similar to Tate. So yeah, but it depends. If I'm singing something that's like more personalized, like for example, I wrote this song called Moon Over Capri, which I wrote about my grandpa who passed away about a year ago. And like when I'm performing stuff like that, I feel like I'm very much myself because it just depends on the content of the song.
Uh, that makes perfect sense, and
Yeah.
and you're still so young, and so you have so much time to continue to find that voice. And what a reward for the audience to get to walk alongside you as you make that journey of self-discovery along the way. And that's exciting for me. And what I'm about to ask you, I know is an unfair question, and it's completely reasonable for you to say like, I'm still figuring that out because again, you're so young. But like, what do the next few years look like for you? Because you're working on a college degree, and there's a lot of things you can do with that, that aren't necessarily related to the arts. There's theater, there's pop music. Like, where do you kind of see the trajectory heading, or is it just sort of like, I'm going to see what opportunities are there when I get there?
I think definitely kind of seizing opportunities as they come up. And then also, I mean, I'm a junior right now, so I have the rest of this year and then I have next year and then I'm graduated. And I'm really looking forward to recording an album, doing touring more. I've done some tours in the past, but I haven't done them for as long as I would have liked because I've been in school.
Yeah.
So doing that, more collaborations. I've been doing so many more collaborations now that I'm at Berkeley compared to my stuff that before that I'd basically just been writing all on my own. And I'm also really getting into musical theater songwriting as well, especially during my undergrad experience. It's so much fun. Through this like 48-hour theater project, or last semester I took this really cool class where I wrote lyrics and also dialogue verbatim from interviews that the class conducted. So I wasn't able to change anything that our interviewees said, and I had to kind of like take bits and pieces and try to find rhymes or near rhymes to make a song. So like these various experiences that I'm having have been very inspiring. So I think just kind of taking it as it comes.
I mean, that's another route that we didn't even consider as a possibility until you brought it up. I mean, you talked about making that musical in 24 hours that you did. Perhaps there is a Barlow and Bear route for you where you're making musical theater productions, and that's, I mean, just like absolutely within your skill set. That could be pretty exciting to see. I mean, I think we just need to have you on again in like a few years and see which sort of directions you're taking at any given time, because you got so many different paths ahead of you, and that's so exciting. Since you brought up Berkeley, I've always been curious to ask a Berkeley person this question. What's it like being in that environment where you are just surrounded by a whole bunch of people who are at like the peak levels of talent for musical ability, and they're all trying to make a go of it in this field, and all the creativity that's percolating at the same time? Is it collaborative? Is it competitive? Is it both? I mean, like, take us to that world. Like, what's it like for you to walk through that, like when you are at Berkeley?
I think it's a little bit of everything that you mentioned. It definitely is very collaborative, though. Like this semester, I'm taking a class where I have to write and record a new pop song every week with an assigned group of people. And I think that that experience, like I said, I haven't, prior to like the past couple of years, I didn't really do so many co-writes, especially with people who were my age. So being surrounded by all these really incredible, talented musicians and artists, writers, has been a really great way to find different people to collaborate with. And yeah, I think the biggest benefit of Berkeley is just kind of making these connections and being inspired.
I have kind of like a sidestep question, but I do want to get it in before we wrap. And a lot of times when I'm on the show, my background is very much in like mental health and like nervous system stuff and like helping people with their mindset as performers. So I'm curious for you, having done like basically the highest level of performing in a lot of ways on Broadway, and then even just as an indie artist and in the circles that you're in, how do you stay calm and not like poop your pants all the time going on stage?
Real.
This is what happens when Ryan lets me ask questions.
From now on, Katie, whenever you ask the mental health question to a guest, you have to phrase it just like that.
Okay, perfect.
Quote, how do you not poop your pants all the time?
Wait, no, that wording was iconic.
But
Incredible.
I am
Use it every
earnestly
time.
asking, like, how do you keep regulated? How do you keep your nervous system regulated when you're like constantly performing and like doing things at such a high level?
I think a big thing for nervousness is just preparation. I feel like if I'm very confident in what I've prepared for, I usually am not super nervous. I also think that it's just kind of about really trying to be in the moment and enjoy what's happening. Your question reminded me of this experience I had. I performed the national anthem when I was younger at Madison Square Garden for a Knicks game, which was so much fun, incredible experience. But I had this moment where they like brought me out a whole 10 minutes before I was going to perform. And I was watching this clock like tick down the seconds until I was about to go on. And I typically don't get that nervous, but seeing the clock like right in front of me, and it was like ginormous, I started to get really nervous. And then literally 6 seconds or something before I was about to perform, they like pushed me on stage and they were like, go, 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 you're about to be on. I was like, oh my God. And then I got on stage and it kind of, or onto the court, and the seconds started to count down like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I felt all my nerves just completely wash away. And I think I just entered this headspace where I was very present and just really, I don't know, being in the moment and enjoying like the experience. I think that's a big thing for me when it comes to nerves.
That's really good perspective on that. And it sounds like you had more success on that court than the New York Knicks usually do. So that's a nice thing to hear.
Boom, roasted.
Sick burned by the Heat fan. Ha ha. Our guest has been Ava Della Pietro. You can find out more about her work by visiting avadellapietro.com. Producer Lauren, did I just dream this, or did you tell me that we have a music video from Ava that we can play on the program?
I did. If we have that official permission, we were told by her team that we were allowed to, and then I got a thumbs up. But yes, I think that there's a new video we might get to see.
Very cool. So here's what I'm thinking. Let me do our final question here, Ava, and then we will close out with your music video, and it'll be an absolute blast. So last question before we let you go, we got one more for you here. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Absolutely. I think that the most important thing is to just kind of go for it. I think it's really easy to get caught up in the details of things and feel like your work could be better, a little bit better and a little bit better. But I think a lot of the times when it comes down to that, the perfect ends up being the enemy of the good. And if you wait until everything feels completely finished or flawless, you might never put anything out at all. And I think a lot of growth comes from just putting stuff out and releasing music, performing it, and kind of learning as you go. So yeah, just go for it.
Love that. Ava, you are a star. Katie and I want to be just like you when we grow up.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Can you
I want to be just
introduce
like you guys?
Oh, now don't not. You should look at what the end result was of my Harvard application before you wish for that. Do you want to introduce this music video for us to take us out here?
I would love to. Yes, so this is my song 3 a.m. Dropping at midnight, but you have the little sneak peek ahead of time.
Yay.
And it's about an on again, off again relationship that always unravels in the early hours of the day.
All right. Thank you all for checking us out. Our thanks to Ava Della Pietra and Katie Zaccardi, producer Lauren, and all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. Here is 3 a.m. by Ava Della Pietra.
The last train leaves at 2:30. And I'm crying, watching you. A familiar suitcase, the same goodbye. You speak, but never meet my eye. You say it's over, no surprise. It always hurts to hear your favorite line. I'm a broken record as I lie and say we'll patch it up this time. We know what happens. Take the night, think it over. Nothing bad's gonna happen at 3 a.m. In the morning, start over. It'll be okay if we forget. Come back again, back again. Back again, back again. Take the night, think it over. Nothing bad's gonna happen at 3 a.m. 2 weeks later, we're back like before. Then in a moment, you are gone once more. Door slam shut, the echo stay. You come and go as I decay. I'm fading faster still, please. Take the night, think it over. Nothing bad's gonna happen at 3 a.m. In the morning, start over. It'll be okay if we forget. Come back again, back again. Back again, back again. Take the night, think it over. Nothing bad's gonna happen at 3 a.m. It's so naturally when you walk away. As I beg you to stay every time it's a song, I thought that was love. You do it so naturally when you show up again. Just as I started to mend, I'm back again at 3 a.m. Took the night, thought it over. You better get going, it's 3 a.m. 'Cause you and I are over. If you love me, you'll never come back again. Back again, back again. Back again, back again. Took the night, thought it over. It'll be okay if we forget.
Break the business. Place
I think we're going to go with you guys.
That's great.
where